Okay, welcome to the Empathy Circle. Shahid, Buttar, and Mike Zonta, and I'm Timothy Regan. This is an Empathy Circle for congressional candidates just before the California primary for Congressional District 11, City and County of San Francisco. The intention here is for candidates to gather, to express themselves to one question, which is why should people vote for me? Or to speak to whatever is on your mind and heart. And though to be heard to your satisfaction when you speak. This is different than a debate or an argument or a level of competitive inquiry, right? This is an opportunity to demonstrate listening as well as expressing. And so if you'll look around our virtual room, not all the candidates are here, and not even a representative for the incumbent. And so that says a lot, doesn't it? From my perspective, of course, I'm a little bit disappointed because this model of dialogue is so rich and allows folks to, from my perspective, get to a deeper level of expression and understanding, and to demonstrate our skill of listening, which is an important skill in representative government. And so anyway, we'll get into, the ins and outs of this, what this is like in just a moment, but I just want to say welcome. Shahid, Buttar, you are the only candidate here who arrived and is willing to participate in this particular round of an empathy circle. And so I'm strongly grateful for your presence. I want to give Mike Zonta also a warm welcome and a deep level of gratitude for the effort, the hours of effort, and the bold and courageous invitation to candidates and our incumbent to have a conversation like this. And Mike, that's not easy to organize something that in a way is progressive, but it also is kind of essential in how human beings work, right? You have a vision for this, and I want to thank you for your effort. Yeah, thumbs up. And so in a moment, I'll ask both of you to introduce yourselves. But so for this process, here's how it basically works. Each of us, including myself as a facilitator, have a chance to express ourselves for 5 minutes and be heard by a certain other member of the circle that we choose. During that exchange, I'll be timing. During that exchange, the speaker will get to speak and say whatever is on their mind or heart. The intention for this circle, Shahid, is for you to be able to speak to why people should vote for you for a seat in our National House of Representatives. The others of us will speak to what's on our mind and what's coming up. The listener has an opportunity to respond and reflect their understanding of what the speaker is trying to say. The speaker then gets to correct and really speak until the speaker feels and knows they've been heard and understood within that 5-minute window. After that 5 minutes is done, the speaker gets to relax. The listener becomes the new speaker. That speaker has 5 minutes to express whatever's on their mind and heart to another person who they request to be their listener. And the process moves forward like that. We're going to shoot for an hour for this particular conversation. And as you'll see, you'll have a chance to come around and speak. And every round, the conversation tends to grow and deepen. I want to remind speakers to pause often and give your listener a chance to try to express back what they've understood so the speaker then can clarify. The intention here is to have that and know that experience of being fully heard to your satisfaction in small bits of time around this core topic. So I'd like us to begin, but before I begin, I'd like to see if there's anything to add to this particular explanation of a basic empathy circle. Anything to add or any questions at all?
I'm looking forward to it. Sounds fascinating.
All right, excellent. Okay, so to begin, Shahid, Buttar, I would invite you to speak to this question. Why should people vote for you? as a representative in our United States House of Representatives for Congressional District 11 here in California, with our impending primary on June 7th. Why should people vote for you? Or, of course, share whatever's on your mind and heart in this moment.
I'll take your latter invitation just to speak to what's on my mind and heart, and I'll just start with gratitude.
Okay, and
for
before you begin,
Yeah.
you'll be speaking to me. I invite you to speak to me
Okay.
so I can demonstrate the listening and how that works. And
Okay.
I'll also track time. Go ahead.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you, Timothy, for the warm welcome, for the structure. And I want to particularly share gratitude with Mike. You shared this as well, but I see we talked a little bit about this before we got started, but I just see in the fact of any dialogue around an election a positive social good. And in addition, this particular model seems innovative and new. I haven't had an opportunity to be a part of a dialogue like this before, so I appreciate that. I particularly appreciate it, and I'm grateful for the context, which this event in the context of the broader institutional failure of the media establishment to show up for work. There's an election currently underway in which I'm a candidate. The voting period lasts for another 2 weeks and 2 days, and not a single print journalism outlet serving San Francisco has covered the race once. And the only broadcast outlet to cover the race to this point is a single nonprofit pirate radio station that only serves the mission. And the abdication, not just by the corporate media, but even the so-called independent press, of even a pretense of democratic participation, to me represents a crisis in democracy well beyond the one I'm running for. And again, all the more reason I'm just grateful for the chance to share ideas in this forum.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, I'd like to capture some of that, see if I got it. You are in a state of gratitude because you're appreciating the social good and the benefit of dialogue, particularly in a setting where you are seeing, from your perspective, media, both independent, corporate, whatever, is missing is falling down on their duty, is missing an in-depth coverage of in San Francisco of the challengers for Nancy Pelosi's seat, like missing analysis, coverage, and everything. And so you're disappointed about that. And so therefore, this particular kind of dialogue for you is an opportunity to move through or beyond that. Did I get some of that?
You nailed it. There was a quibble I had. The lawyer brain comes out of me where you noted like in-depth coverage. I would be happy for any at all.
Wow.
And it's not even so much me and the media's failure. It's like the crisis to our community that goes unseen because the agents of discourse themselves aren't there. You know, it's like the collapse of our democracy. You know, there's a lot of alarm about democracy being in crisis in Washington, and Democrats will say it's the Trump people and it's the insurrectionists, and it's like our democracy faces way deeper threats than that. And you know, a big one is just the fact that the press, despite having the protections in the First Amendment, just literally does not show up for work in this country.
The press, despite having the protections of the First Amendment, from your perspective, is not showing up for work, and that has dire consequences for our democracy. I get
That's
that.
right. I feel fully heard. Thank you.
Okay. Well, you got another minute and a half. If there's anything else on your mind you want to share, please, I invite you to use your time.
I'll in the spirit of the gratitude piece, I see in Mike and the organizing impetus behind this gathering, the continuing reverberation of the Occupy movement. I was very much a part of it, more on the East Coast, frankly, than the West Coast, but I happened to be touring the country at the time. I was leading a nonprofit, so I got to visit 20 of the different sites, in the few months that the occupations were active. And so I got, full immersion in the movement, and to see its continuing reverberations a decade later, from the calls to still cancel student debt, which are now, finally reaching the White House, to just the participation of all the different networks from the Occupy Homes movement, which sort of sprung from the Occupy community, the spirit of mutual aid that's been revived in the last 2 years of the pandemic. I see that very much as a continuation of the movement's vision. And I think this gathering is another example of that. So thanks for holding that flag as well.
Yeah, so I hear you expressing some sincere gratitude for Mike, who you perceive as really carrying that flag of the Occupy movement and some of the insights and practices and social good that came out of that. And through your experience touring and seeing that in place many years ago, now seeing this happen in the modern mutual aid, systems for humans looking out for each other. And a couple of things I also missed there, but you're just grateful. And you're seeing this dialogue as a almost one of the gifts or benefits of what came out of Occupy, where I imagine dialogue itself like this, where there's intentional listening, has a powerful benefit. And I know I missed a little bit.
Fully heard. Yeah, totally. Thank you.
Okay, cool.
So now, do I pass the mic to someone else to speak? How does that work?
No, what happens is now that you're done speaking, now as the listener, I transition into becoming a speaker. I express, and I choose somebody to listen to me. We try to tend to go around the circle. So I'd love to speak to Mike right now. So thank you, Shahid.
Oh.
And Mike.
Okay.
Okay.
Listening.
Okay, great. Wow. I'm sitting with a sense of, I guess, aliveness and a little bit of intensity in this moment, because I'm observing what this group is already, which is the three of us. I'm inspired by what Shahid is saying, and the kind of a fierce vision that I perceive within Shahid around really inclusive, dynamic democracy. So I'm inspired there, and I'm also feeling the intensity of what this circle could have been and missing that. Like, imagine having all candidates plus Nancy Pelosi in this dialogue right now, addressing this question: why should folks vote for me? But then demonstrating listening. It's just, it blows my mind for how that might actually create a new level of safety, right? And ability for everyone to express at a little deeper, more meaningful level. And so anyway, I'm missing that, and I'm still inspired by Shahid and what he shared as well.
So I hear you feeling a great sense of excitement about what we're doing today, but also a little disappointment that it couldn't have gone further with some of the other candidates.
Yeah.
But you're excited about what Shahid has said. And well, I think that's about
Yeah, thank you.
What I got.
That's it. You got it. Yeah. And so, and then my mind is going places where it loves to explain why people do things. It's almost always wrong, but I just want to start kind of judging and defining all these other candidates that weren't here and why they aren't here. Ooh, I'm really tempted just to start, putting out my theories, which are not necessarily kind, because I'm sad. Okay, here's what's happening. I'm sad that not all candidates are here. We missed a wonderful opportunity. Therefore, when I'm sad, I'm feeling pain, right? So I'm feeling pain. So when I feel pain, I don't want to feel the pain. So I start thinking and trying to explain my way out of, and then all the judgment comes in. It's how it works. And then it feels really good to judge everybody, right? Not here. And then I play that game. But then I know not to get caught there. So I'm not going to indulge that. But I am going to come back to my sadness and my wish for a level of human intimacy when it really counts, when we're representing other people. And that means that yeah, as a representative, I want my full brain online and I want my presence online. I want to be able to listen and speak, and I want to be in relationship as a representative in our democracy, right? And so I want every candidate and every representative to have that capacity of that warmth and listening, as well as fierce advocacy, right? Both. I want both of those things active. So that's what I'm going to focus on. I'm sad because I'm missing this opportunity now for those to be demonstrated. And my thank you. I'll just pause there.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, please pause.
Yes, so you're feeling you're going between sadness that not more people, not more candidates were here,
Yeah.
and and that sadness is a sort of pain. So then you get to thinking, and then possibly judging why some of the candidates were not here. But you say that, well, whenever you do that kind of thing, you're usually wrong. But also that you want your candidates, your representative, to have the ability not only to advocate but to listen.
Thank you. Exactly. Yeah, to keep the relational brain active as well as the instrumental, advocate, convincing, arguing brain, right? I want whole humans representing all of us, and so I'd love to see that demonstrated by all of our elected officials. Yeah.
Okay, so you want your representative to have a relational ability, not just I can't read my writing here.
Yeah. Instead of just advocating or instrumental or kind of like arguing and logical, it's great, but to really understand the meaning for human well-being underneath all this work that we're doing. Yeah.
Right. So you want a representative who is a whole being, and somebody that can show that they are not just an advocate, but they're able to relate to other people.
Thank you. And I want to say, of course, all of our candidates, all our fellow human beings are whole human beings, but I want folks to be able to demonstrate these different aspects of being a whole human being, right? So relational and kind of logical or instrumental. So yeah, I just want folks to demonstrate those skills. I know, come on, folks are whole human beings, of course.
So you want to emphasize. Jesus.
Emphasize.
You want to say that that all the candidates are whole human beings, but you just want to see that relationship ability demonstrated.
Love it. Thank you. I feel fully heard. Thank you, Mike.
Okay.
Time's up.
Okay, so now I am the speaker.
You're the speaker. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll choose Shahid to be my listener.
I'm honored.
Okay. Well, I'm really. I had no idea how this event was going to go. I was hoping that a few more people would show up, and I'm really thankful that Shahid did show up, and also Timothy that you're showing up as a facilitator, because even with a small group of three of us, I think we can demonstrate to those that want to witness the YouTube or the Facebook, or to listen to you on your Talk It Out show on KPFA, that this kind of thing can be done. And maybe it has to start with three people, but it can go on to 4 and 5 and all the candidates being included until at one time in our future. I hope it becomes, like we take, for example, that, yeah, there's going to be presidential debates, and yeah, there's going to be an empathy circle for all the candidates. It's just something we do as a culture. So I'll stop there.
I hear you saying that maybe there was some uncertainty stepping in as to how the vision would materialize, and maybe a little echo of some of the disappointment I heard Timothy mention in terms of wishing that maybe we had some others with us to help flesh out that vision. But you see in the opportunity among us who are here a chance to plant a seed maybe that can grow and hopefully become a thing that can become part of our civic culture, and that you could see being part of the expectation of the people could have a chance to hear their representatives auditioning how they hear.
Right.
And participate. Yeah, please.
That's why I was so thrilled when I saw the YouTube of that Edwin Rooch had done with District 8, with which Timothy also facilitated, and there was 3 candidates that showed up for that. Edwin being one of them, and I thought, wow, these candidates are running against each other, and yet they are allowing themselves to be part of a listening circle where they have to listen to each other and respect each other, and see what happens, rather than coming in with a debate with prepared talking points or something like that, or trying to undermine your opponent. This is something that you really can't prepare for what you do in an empathy circle, because it has to be pretty hot at the moment of your speaking.
I hear you saying that you saw the forum that Timothy played a similar role in for the 8th Congressional District, and you liked what you saw there and saw the mutual respect model a different kind of exchange, perhaps. And I kind of got the picture that you were describing the conversation as having a life unto its own. I'm not sure if I'm reading into what you were saying, but what I picked up at least is that you were describing a conversation that inspired you and that you wanted to see happen again here closer to home. Did I get any of that? Okay.
Right, that's right. And I was so thrilled the other day. I opened up my sample voting book and getting ready to vote, and I always thought that I was in Jackie Spears' district, which is District 14, but the voter pamphlet says, no, I'm in District 11. So I'm thrilled to be able to vote in this district. And I would say a lot of my vote is going to be based on those who turned out today, as opposed to those who did not.
I hear you saying that the redistricting might have swept you from what used to be the 14th into what then was the 12th and is now the 11th. Heard that story before, also from people who live down by the Balboa Park area, and that you're excited for the chance to vote for the seat that represents San Francisco, and that you're interested in this forum as an indication of, an opportunity for you to discover who you might want to support.
Right. I think that by candidates showing up or not showing up, it's not as if the candidates didn't know, but they made a choice not to. Those that did not show up made a choice to not show up. And so that says to me, that gives me a lot of information about that candidate, and maybe to the viewers or listeners of this empathy circle, that will also be an important addition to the final judgment they make as far as who they want to vote for.
I must observe an interesting position you've put me in as the listener, because I'm speaking back a thing that you said that is so very much in my interest that I'm trying not to dial it up. But what I'm hearing you say is that you are observing that the other candidates had other places that they chose to be, and that the chance to exchange views and listen and demonstrate empathy or show themselves before the voters was not a priority for them, and that I hope I'm getting some of that across.
Yeah, I think that.
Oh, hold on. That is time. So just clarify
Okay.
that last reflection.
Okay.
Okay.
I feel fully heard.
You do. Okay, good. Okay. Thank you, Mike. Okay. So Shahid, you get to speak to either of us, whoever you
right. Is it untoward to just keep the circle going, where I would ask you, Timothy, to be my listener?
Yeah, no, it's fine. Yeah.
Is that fine? Okay.
Either one of us. Yeah.
I could see it falling into a pattern, but maybe we can reverse it at some point. But
change it anytime.
Yeah. This is a little bit meta, but yeah, the exercise is interesting insofar as, as I hear Mike describing the conspicuous absence of both the incumbent in the race and my allies in the race to end the corruption of her dynasty, the disappointment in I have this experience, my first reflection was about the press not showing up for work. And I encounter a great many people simply not showing up for work. And I want to particularly draw the circle around the incumbent here, and maybe I'll just pause there before I dive in.
Right. Okay. Yeah. You're expressing more disappointment, and you were focused on the incumbent, Nancy Pelosi, and you said the corruption of her dynasty, and you want to draw some attention to her and her team at this moment. You were talking earlier about the press and missing opportunities that you see, and now you want to focus on Nancy Pelosi and her team. Is that right?
Her and the other candidates in the race. I mean, I should note that I have allies in the race to unseat her who, to Mike's point, aren't here. And I've spent a lot of time over the course of the years now that I've sought trying to liberate our city's voice in Washington, noting that the oligarch who inhabits the seat has never debated a challenger in the 35 years that she has held it, which I just think is an absolute preposterous reflection of entitlement and privilege of the worst conceivable kind. And just to dovetail that with the assault on democracy that it implies, the disrespect for the district and for the voters that is implicit in not showing up for a debate for an entire generation. And so that all feeds back into my gratitude for this forum and my disappointment in my allies in the race for not taking advantage of the opportunity to at least offer their ideas to the public. Like, if you're not going to debate in public, I kind of think someone has no business running for office in the first place.
Yeah, you're seeing it as just a really strong failure, a missed opportunity, that Nancy Pelosi has not debated anybody in public for years and years now. And you said something like you're working to liberate the voice of San Francisco in Washington. And you have allies in the race to unseat Nancy Pelosi and, and kind of her team's way of doing things. And so you're disappointed there. You wish your co-challengers could have at least shown up to engage in a dialogue like this as well. Wondering if there's a lot more there. I don't want to miss anything. Anything else that I missed that you'd like to make sure to be understood for?
If we're within 5 minutes and I have another thing to put on the table, just that going back to the incumbent, I see this city having dire needs, from the poisoning of Bayview and Hunters Point to the ongoing gentrification and displacement that have shifted the racial composition of our city dramatically. I don't think there's any other city in the country where 3/4 of the black residents have been removed in the last generation.
Okay, I want to pause there. You see two kind of dire, serious issues that are having very far-reaching consequences. Number one, the poisoning of Hunters Point, and that whole story and that whole kind of tragedy, I imagine you might say. But at the same time, gentrification. You're seeing 3/4 of the black residents leaving, and the whole character of the city changing through this process, and it's really upsetting and not okay from your perspective. And you're wanting these issues to be able to be brought to a federal level because they're so wide-ranging or serious. Did I get that?
Yeah, I mean, the just on the last part about the wide-rangingness, just to offer a clarification there, the issue for me and how it relates to the federal level is simply that the federal government has wider reach, greater resources, and it's the thing I've spent more time fighting. I've spent most of the last 20 years fighting the federal government under administrations from both parties, either from San Francisco or in Washington, D.C. And so I'm basically auditioning to help how I know how to help. And the thing I know much better, frankly, than I know with the Board of Supervisors is Congress, because I've spent a lot more time fighting Congress than I ever have spent fighting the Board of Supervisors.
Got it. So you have been and you are a fighter, and in those fights and those scrappy engagements, you've learned a lot for how to get things done, express influence, and you want to bring that to bear to help the well-being of the people of San Francisco, particularly around the issues you've mentioned. But yeah, you're like, I've been there, I'm in there, I'm auditioning, and will you have me? I'd like to fight for you. Did I
Thank
get
you.
that
I
right?
feel fully heard, and that you even said it better, I think, than I did. So thank you for that.
Okay, you think I said that better than you? Okay, well, I get to
Well,
speak next. I'm going to debate that. But anyway, um, okay, so thank you very much, and you feel fully heard. Okay,
I do. Thank you.
now we go to the next step. I'll be the next speaker. Let's see, Mike, I'd love to speak to you. Is that okay?
Okay.
Okay, great. I just want to clarify that I'm definitely not. I don't see myself as saying anything any better than anybody else, and I really do appreciate what I would term the eloquence of Shahid in his expression. So I'm actually appreciating that.
Oh, so you just wanted to clarify that you don't feel that you're able to say anything better than anybody else, and you just wanted to say that.
Yeah, and then I appreciate the eloquence that Shahid has been using.
Okay,
Language.
and you appreciate the eloquence that Shahid
Yes,
demonstrated.
I do. Yes, I do. All right. Hmm. Hmm. I'm just appreciating taking a moment to breathe here and allow things to bubble up. The way I like to express myself is speak from the gut or the heart combined with my brain. So there's a certain pace that I actually appreciate going at. And many of my teachers have taught me about pace. So part of this process means I could take a few minutes and just even pause and consider what's most important to me in this moment. So I'm just appreciating that this process allows for that. Because I believe, and my experience is, so much is lost when our pace increases. So much meaning and insight and valuable reflection and so many gifts of awareness are lost in a frantic or rigorous pace of debate, for example, right?
Can I feedback?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you're just taking a pause here because you like to do that. You think that you're waiting for things to bubble up, and that a lot of times when the pace is so quick, we lose things. And this is something you've experienced, and you've had teachers over the years that have shown that in order to speak from the heart and not just the head, it's important to not race through what you're trying to say.
Thank you so much. Mike, I really feel heard there. Thank you. Yeah. My imagination is moving, just as we're sitting here in this moment, towards what a candidate or an actual representative would do with this process. I'm wondering, if I was a candidate and I was elected, how I would use a dialogue of listening as well as speaking, and accurate understanding, really, a dialogue of accurate understanding, how I would use that. And I have never imagined myself as an elected representative. But as I do, I also, I can sense the pressure around a certain pace. And the way I explain that is because of the multitude of crises that we're all facing right now. That the sense of urgency and survival and drama and coping is such a high pressure that we actually it's hard to actually pause and bring to bear our wisdom and our presence And so I imagine it would be challenging to use this process as an elected representative. But there is a quote I heard a long time ago that I like this. I got a really busy and challenging and scary day ahead. I better meditate an extra hour in the morning before the day gets going. So it's that principle of pace and depth, even more needed when things are intense and pressured. So my time's almost up. If you want to reflect that would be great, or a piece of it, and then
Okay. You find yourself reflecting on how it would be. You've never thought of yourself as a candidate or a representative, but you're wondering how it might be if you were, and how you would use this empathy circle kind of situation to express yourself in spite of the pressure that you feel there is to say or do something about all the problems that we're facing. You made an interesting quote that if you're going to have a real stressful day, then you're going to have to meditate 1 hour more in the morning. So I've heard that before too. I think that's very good. Is that more or less what you said?
Yeah, that's it. Just the main point that this is paradox. When things are really tough and intense, we almost need to slow down and go deeper for our resources and our collective resources. Yeah, it's almost like when democracy is even more important. Yeah.
So when things are really tough and moving at a frantic pace, that's when it's really more important to slow down and get in touch with a part of ourselves that may be able to have answers that we might not normally get to.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Mike. I feel fully heard. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to reverse the circle and ask Timothy to be my listener.
Okay.
So yeah, I think that's a really great point. One of the things I was so amazed, I was listening to I was in an empathy circle the other day, and a woman from England, which is another great point about empathy circles, it's all around the world, So this woman from England was just sitting there pausing. It was her turn to speak, but she was just pausing like for 30 seconds or so, which seemed like an eternity. But I thought, oh, and she said, I just want to, collect my thoughts and calm down for a minute. I thought, wow, we can do that too. I thought that's great.
Yeah. So you were like, wait a second, this woman from England was modeling a whole 30 seconds of silence. And for you, that was a lot. It was uncomfortable. It was edgy. And you're like, wait, we can do this? And I can reminded you of that capacity that we have to take time.
Right. It seems like one of the things about empathy circles is that, or not about empathy circles. One of the things about conversation is that we're always thinking, well, what am I going to say next? What am I going to say next? What am I going to say next? Or I agree with you, I don't agree with you, or any number of things, but we're not listening to what the person is saying with the knowledge that we have to feed back to that person that we were listening. So I'll stop there.
Yeah. So without being in dialogue, we're not even going to show that we're listening. Where do we default? We start planning what we're going to say next. Do I agree? Do I disagree? We're going to debate. We're going to kind of get into that, the back and forth. Did I catch that?
Yeah, and that's one of the exciting things about empathy circles too, is that sometimes by allowing that silence or to slow the pace down within our own head, as it were, we can arrive at insights and ideas that are not pre-programmed. We don't have talking points. Yeah. We have access to the universal unconscious, whatever you want to call it.
Thank you. Yeah, you're saying that, wow, if we pause and break up the grind of the constant movement, we can almost break the spell of the kind of regular talking points and regular structures, but it opens up access to something that's not pre-planned, then maybe is accessing the universal unconscious, he's saying, actually another layer or a depth of wisdom or creativity, something like that.
Yeah. Yesterday, I attended an empathy circle, interfaith, no faith empathy circle. And one of the points that was brought out was that Edwin was concerned about how do we harvest some of the ideas that we come up with in these empathy circles. And someone else in the circle said, really what we're harvesting, what we seem to be harvesting in an empathy circle is our appreciation for each other. And it seems that in every empathy circle I've been in, I come away with a much greater appreciation for the other people involved in the empathy circle. And that's why those that did not show up today have lost out on not only my empathy, but the empathy of everybody that's listening and viewing this circle.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, you were hearing somebody talk, kind of lament, well, we're getting all these fun ideas. Edwin, actually, one of the main champions of this method, right, of empathy circling, but he's saying, oh my gosh, all these ideas, let's harvest. Somebody says, no, we're harvesting something different. We're harvesting maybe goodwill or companionship or human connection. We're getting actually closer to the other beings here. And Mike, I hear you saying, and what a missed opportunity for the incumbent and the other candidates in this political race, the House of Representatives, for them not to be here, missed out on your understanding and empathy, and also a mutual human relational understanding and empathy. And that's a loss. That's sad.
Yeah, but it's very exciting to know that this is a possibility that we have in our future campaigns. I mean, it can be used in all kinds of different areas, but in our future political campaigns, will we have an empathy circle between Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders and anybody else that wants to be part of it. And this will tell us a hell of a lot more, I think, about the candidates than any of the formats we've had before.
Yeah, so the empathy circle process, imagining, Bernie Sanders or Hillary Clinton or anybody else could just reveal so much more about who these candidates are, and therefore can maybe help us all, elect somebody who can best serve us, something like that.
Yes, I feel fully heard.
Wow, cool. Okay, so now I was the listener, so now I'm the speaker again. Of course, Shahid, I'd like to speak to you, if that's okay.
Yeah, I'm honored.
Okay, we'll continue. I just want to say I love that moment when Mike just said it. Yes, I actually feel fully heard. Whoa, wait a second. I just met Mike today, and I just was with him for 5 minutes, and he looked at me and he said, I feel fully heard. That's amazing. Come on. It's not that hard to actually fully hear another human being. If you set up a little structure, a little agreement, maybe a little time frame, okay, great. So I don't know. I love that moment. It's a pretty cool moment. Like I can actually hear somebody I don't even know.
I hear you expressing being jazzed at the feedback, seeing it land. Somebody in the, I think I hear you saying that maybe Mike felt seen, if not heard, and the profundity of to be acknowledged and to be seen and to be heard, and how facile it was to create that very profound interaction, particularly by creating a little structure and a little mechanics around it.
Exactly.
Did I get any of that right?
Yes, exactly. Okay, so I'm going to pause my time here. You got it. It looks like Bianca Krieg is signing on.
Great.
And so I'd like to pause the circle and invite her in and let her know where we're at and go from there. How's that sound?
Great.
Okay, great. Bianca Krieg, greetings. Looks like you're not quite set up for sound or video. And I want to let you know we are recording this session, but we'd love to hear you and
I'm unmuted.
Oh my gosh, there you are. You're here.
Hi.
I'm happy. I'm Timothy. Hi.
Hi, Tim. How are you?
Oh my God, great. And then Mike is here. his name is Moto G on the video, which is a great, I really like that.
That is a cool handle. That is the mighty moniker of the century.
Yes, exactly. Of course, Shahid, Buttar is here. They just want to say, and we are recording this session. We've been in a wonderful dialogue, and we've been going through the process of the Empathy Circle so far. Oh my God, we're so happy to see you. And so we paused, and we're just kind of continuing the process. And I'm wondering maybe if you would be willing to turn on your camera and say hi, at least for a moment. That would be amazing. And then
I'm not exactly camera ready right now.
Okay, all right, you're not. That's fine. That's fine. The second thing is that if you'd be willing to observe while we continue one or two other cycles, because we were kind of in a role here.
No, that would be great, because that'll help me catch up a little bit.
Yeah. I want you to catch up. And of course, I'm going to review really briefly what we're doing in a 1 minute, in just a moment. And then you'll be able to catch in, and I'll continue where I left off. Yeah. And you get to see how this little process works. How's that sound?
Outstanding. Let's do it.
Okay, cool. I like it. I like your attitude. Outstanding. Let's do it. Okay, cool. All right. So basically how this works, Bianca, is really simple. Let's say there's 4 of us. I'm facilitating, so I'm watching time. Each of us has 5 minutes to express ourselves until we feel fully heard within that 5 minutes. And we don't just express ourselves until we feel fully heard, but we're expressing ourselves to one person in the circle. So, Bianca, if you were going to speak, you pick one of us would say, sure, I'll listen to you. You get to speak to that person and say, it's me. And then you would speak to the topic, whatever the topic is. Why should people vote for me? Or whatever's on your mind and heart. And you start talking, and then I say, okay, time out, let me see if I get you. So then after a minute or so, during that 5 minutes, I will reflect back to you to see if I'm understanding you so far. So it actually slows us down a little bit, but also ensures that what you're saying is getting picked up and is understood accurately. And then you're like, yeah, you got that. So then you continue, and we go back and forth for that 5 minutes. At the end of that 5 minutes, we make sure that what you said has been fully understood, okay? And so that's basically the process. And then after you've spoken, you get to relax. The listener becomes a new speaker. The listener picks somebody else in the circle, speaks to them for 5 minutes until they feel fully heard, and we go on from there. And the main theme of this particular circle is why people should vote for me, answering that question. We are sad, of course, Bianca, that the incumbent and other candidates in this race were unable to make this opportunity, and we're also stoked that you made it as well. Sound good? I think you're muted there, Bianca.
Yeah, I unmuted.
Okay, cool. All right, so we'll continue where we were, do a couple rounds, and then Bianca, of course, we're gonna give you a chance to answer that question. Why should people vote for me, of course. And then and we'll proceed from there, okay? But just observe a couple rounds. Okay, so I'm gonna continue the timer where I left off, and I was at about just almost 4 minutes left. And so, and things have changed since then. So I'm just going to resume the timer. And I was speaking to Shahid. Shahid, I was just, yes, I was just celebrating. When somebody says, yes, I feel fully heard. And how amazing that is to me, even after teaching this and doing this for many years, that I just met Mike and he said that to me. I'm like, wow, I can do this. I don't know. I have this part of me that just doubts that humans can understand each other. And it's ancient, and yet it comes from all the trauma and drama that we're living through now. All these forces that don't want us to understand each other. Maybe I'm affected by that, but I just love it when somebody says that. Now, please reflect that if you would.
Yeah, I hear you sharing some excitement. Mutual understanding, people coming together despite the various things that hold us apart, that conspire to keep us apart, that in our past and our presence, and if we're unsuccessful in our policy endeavors in the future, does it pull us apart? And so this opportunity through just a little bit of structure for people to find some mutual recognition. And I hear particularly you expressing the excitement of seeing the vision bear the fruit in the microcosm of someone saying, and in this case, Mike, I feel fully heard, and meaning it and feeling it, and how much that conveys.
Exactly. Thank you so much. Yeah, so I'll continue here. And the practice that I work with is nonviolent communication, and it's founded in active nonviolence, the power of love, and the activation of love, which means deep, accurate understanding, accompaniment, presence, mutual collaboration, courageous honesty as well. But really underpinning all of that is this basic discovery and principle where you can name universal human needs underneath culture, difference, belief, history, structures, underneath trauma, underneath recovery, underneath anything, universal human needs, and that I share those with you. And a couple of those universal human needs, when they're met, we feel good, is being seen, being acknowledged, being valued for who and what we are and what we represent, being welcomed, being warmly perceived, right? Even just perceived and acknowledged. So these basic needs never go away, and I think are present in every setting where humans are, including a bombastic battleground of political difference, still are here. And so the process of being understood, even for around differences, meets these fundamental needs and actually builds, as one of my colleagues, Mickey Kashtan, says, reweaves a human fabric, which we need each other to get along, and face what we're facing, all the crises we're in. Please go ahead.
I hear you speaking to this dialogue as an act, not just of coming together, but like construction, and this shared longing to be understood as a thing that is frustrated for everyone in our various ways, and this chance to be heard actively. You were talking about the practice of nonviolent communication as sort of embodying an active, not just active listening, but I think you might have said active love in conversation and communication, and that as a different modality of interaction than the ones that we are typically, I would say, force-fed in this country. I heard you speaking a little bit to the vision of it, not just as filling the personal and interpersonal voids and longings that people have to be understood, but also that there is this possibility of shared social, the emergence of a thing between that is none of us, but all of us together.
Something in between all of it. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, collective well-being. Like, how does that happen? Thanks. Yeah, I feel fully heard. I really appreciate Shahid. Please continue. Bianca's still observing for now, but kind of observing. So maybe speak to Mike or myself.
Yeah. Maybe Mike, if you don't mind listening for me.
Sure.
Okay. Cheers. I guess I'm going to reflect to some extent on a few things that came around, not so much in the latest reflections, but the round before, when particularly I think it was Timothy who might have first started the appreciation around pace and the opportunity to take one's time. And it reminded me of two particular settings. One was the Quaker services that I've had a chance to observe. An organizer who I worked with on a grassroots collective in Washington was graduating from a Quaker school. Actually, was a young man who was sort of like, someone I'd mentored. And so I had a chance to see the ceremony there. And it was such a profound demonstration of social silence. And this point that Mike was raising about the consciousness that emerges in silence and the opportunity for dialogue to be driven not by the individuals and the points they're trying to make, but the things that bubble up. And the other moment that occurred to me was,
as a facilitator, I want to pause you and give Mike a chance to catch all that.
Okay, so you were just commenting on what Timothy had said earlier about pace, and that you had some involvement with the Quaker service and the way that they respect silence as a part of that service to allow allow something to bubble up and not say anything until you're moved to say something.
Thank you. Right. The other time that I feel like I've similarly felt a profound experience in silence was when the Ferguson uprising happened about a decade ago. One of the Mike Brown's body was left in the street for 4.5 hours. And often in the movement, we modeled a 4.5 minute silence at actions. And 4.5 minutes of silence, subjectively in a group, is a long ass time. And so profound were those moments in groups of people occupying public space in solidarity with the lives of our neighbors, where we held silence together. It was some of the most powerful actions I've ever been a part of. And it brought to mind when you were reflecting on the value of silence and pace.
So you were hearkening back to the Ferguson killing and how they left the body for 4.5 hours, and so in some of the circles and demonstrations that followed that, there would be 4.5 minutes just to honor that, honor George Ferguson, and a lot happened in that 4.5 minutes. It's a long time, especially for a group for anybody to be silent, but a lot, I think you said a lot went on in that 4.5 minutes.
That's right.
That's
Again,
right.
I feel mostly heard there just only because I feel like it's important for us to say their names. Mike Brown was the name of our fallen brother in that particular instance. You know, there have been too many, and we could say names all day, but I just wanted to make sure his name gets said. And I'll just to close the reflection on speed and pace, I often say that running for office, I feel frequently as though I have grown dumber by the day, precisely because of the space constraints. And while on the one hand, in the policy arena, I don't think there's much that compels that degree of frenetic mania, in the political arena, it's compelled simply by the need to reach as many people as we can in the limited time that we can. You know, the metaphor of a race for elections is quite apt, because we have a limited time to reach, you know, in this congressional district, 500,000 voters, to try to inform them about narratives that the media actively suppresses from them. And so that forces a certain mania, ultimately, in trying to reach everyone in the city. And so the pace intentionally slowing, I feel like, is a useful counteracting antidote to that.
Okay, so you're saying that the name was Mike Brown. You wanted to make sure that got corrected.
Yeah.
And that also the idea of trying to reach thousands of voters, you felt that you're in essence, you have to kind of dumb yourself down so that you can reach more and more voters, and especially hard because the media doesn't is not helping in that process.
That's right. Yeah, the only thing I guess to develop that is that I feel like because we're trying to reach so many people, and I'm constantly trying to reach people, or, you know, call people and find people, that the opportunity to reflect, that time to be intentional about silence, for instance, is the thing that I miss. So I've just more appreciation for that.
Right. So because you have to reach so many people, the opportunity to reflect is you miss that opportunity, because it's called a race, and it leads to some kind of mania, I think is the word you used.
Yeah, I feel fully heard. Thank you, Mike.
Okay, so that's time. So what I'd like to do is pause here. You know, if we're going the three of us, Mike, you would be next. You'd be the speaker. Pick somebody. But Bianca, I just want to welcome you in. You can see the format that we're proceeding on. And Bianca, I'm noticing from the chat that you're already engaged in the conversation, considering, you know, the impacts, considering the media. So you're kind of like thinking, you're like, yeah, I want to get in on this. And so, but what I want to do right now, Bianca, now that you're here, now that we have two candidates, two challengers to Nancy Pelosi, I would want to get back to the intention of this particular circle, to give you a chance to speak and be fully heard, to answer this question: why should people vote for me? And what I would encourage you to do is, since there's each of you, Bianca and Shahid, both challengers, if you could speak to each other, and then the other could hear, okay, here's why you're saying, you know, people should vote for you, and demonstrate that listening, and start with that particular question, because I know that voters you know, citizens would, I'm sure, love to hear that exchange, and And then, but then also in an empathy circle, you're absolutely welcomed and honored. Your freedom and self-determination are honored to speak whatever's on your mind and heart. So you get to use your time however you want. This is true free speech within a warm agreement and in a container, right? So, but that would be my invitation. So maybe we could start there. And since you just arrived, Bianca, and we've been going for a while, I would invite you to begin. And if you want to speak to Shahid or to me or Mike, if you wanted to, and we'll be with you for 5 minutes to make sure we reflect back and that you're fully understood. So Bianca, what do you say? You want to give it a try?
Absolutely. Thank you. And thanks for walking me through all that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll speak to anybody. And if anybody has anything to say, just jump in.
Okay, nobody's going to say anything. Pick one.
Did something happen? Did something hurt you?
Yeah, just pick one person to speak to, and then that person will reflect what they're hearing to make sure that you're understood fully.
Do I need to pick one person?
Yeah, and I'm hoping you're going to pick Shahid, but you can pick any.
Well, by process of elimination, yeah, it's kind of. I mean, no offense, but nobody's voting for you guys, right? So.
Yeah. Okay. So I just heard Shahid say he'd be honored to listen to you. Is that something you'd like to do?
Of course. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Cool. So I'll set the timer for 5 minutes. Okay.
So to answer the question, why should people vote for me? Yeah, that one's pretty easy. I think Shahid and I are pretty much aligned politically on what needs to be done. I'm a little bit more focused on money, universal basic income platform. Money solves 100%.
Okay, Bianca, I've got to pause. Your voice is cutting in and out. I don't know what it is.
Oh yeah, that's a crappy internet connection. I apologize. Let me see if I can reroute.
If you can move closer to the router, or maybe shift to your phone. Really want to hear every word you're saying.
Yeah, or alternatively, even just speak a slightly bit slower, and I think I can probably catch most. I was catching most of what you were saying there.
Yeah, but I want listeners to hear it.
Of course.
Yeah. So take your time, Bianca. I want to make sure it really gets improved there. I'll restart the timer.
Oh, thank you. Okay. If I'm being cut off, then maybe just somebody like make an X with their with arms.
Okay, keep talking. It's cutting in and out. About 10-20% is cutting.
It still is. Oh my God, this is terrible.
If you speak a little louder, I think it'll be clearer, and you're near the microphone, and then try to get near your Wi-Fi router or whatever it is, try to definitely want to hear every word.
This might take some time.
Yeah, it's still cutting out.
Well, maybe while you're doing that, just to speak back what I heard you say that you feel like we're generally aligned on some of the ideas in terms of responding to our social crises, and that you were very focused on a universal basic income program. But I think that was where.
Guys, is there a telephonic?
Is there a telephonic?
There would have to be an equivalent in the Zoom meeting information.
Yes. Let me pull that up. One moment. Do you have, no, I don't actually, there is not a telephone number for this particular meeting room. But if you just connect to Zoom on your smartphone,
can I call in? Is there a call-in number on this one?
No, there's no call-in number for this one.
Well, we tried with Mike, Bianca, if it helps, because he had some Wi-Fi issues. We just turned off his Wi-Fi connection, so he connected off with the cell network, and that seemed to improve his signal strength.
Yeah, let me try that.
Yeah, yeah, that's good.
This is also a good indication of why we need better broadband infrastructure in this country. But
thank you.
Another thing we agree about.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
talk while I'm for an interlude. We don't have dead air.
Yeah, no, don't worry. Everything's on pause. We're just working it through.
We were just reflecting before you joined about the value of silence. So it's, you know.
It's true.
That's Depeche Mode. We all love it. What's the hotspot there?
Yeah, this is a real Quaker meeting, isn't it?
I love it. You sit together in silence till something speaks through someone, and then they'll rise with that the force of that clarity, right? And hearing that as a voice of the divine, or at least coming through us as far as possible. It's the best I understand. You know, some that basic Quaker meeting process.
Yeah.
Holding space is a profound act.
Mm-hmm.
I think people are used to it happening rarely in groups. Like people will, you know, close friends will hold space for each other.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people who are supportive of each other will hold space for each other. But for groups to hold space for people is a particularly, I think, powerful thing, experience to see.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I switched over to my houses.
Okay, I heard some background noise. Can you keep talking for a second, Bianca? We'll do a sound check.
Yeah, I'm kind of in a weird location. Yeah, is it okay now? Is it coming in okay?
Yeah, if you keep talking for another 30 seconds and tell us a fun story or sing a song, that would be great.
I won't sing unless you want to torture like, you know, North Koreans or something like that.
Okay.
I feel like we were hearkening back to the days of "Can you hear me now?" and those terrible.
Okay. Okay. So Bianca, what helps most for your voice to come through is that you're near the mic, right next to the microphone, and you're speaking a little bit louder. That's
A little bit louder. It's just good.
That
I'm
does help
seeing
a
a
lot.
good. Yeah, I'm seeing a pretty strong ping timing on my thing. It's about
yes.
in the two digits of milliseconds. Okay.
Yep. So now you got it. Yeah. Speaking at that level consistently all the way through. Let's go for it. Now we're going to start again.
All right.
What I'm going to invite you to do is, of course, answer the question or whatever's on your mind and heart, and consider answering the question, why should people vote for me? I'll start the timer for 5 minutes. You're speaking to Shahid, and we'll go from there.
All right. So yeah, I like I said, money is paramount. Money solves 100% of socioeconomic problems. And that's what everything else is comfort politics, you know, renaming schools, pulling down statues, all that stuff, you know, it's nice, but it's just ultimately a waste of time and a distraction. What we really need to do is give people serious help. You know, nobody wants to have a rationality for racism. That's an academic concept. People of color who are disenfranchised want serious help. They want economic help. And that's
Bianca,
not again.
No, you sound great. And I'm just pause. I want to ask you to pause and give Shahid a chance to catch that. See if he got that loud and clear. Okay.
Okay.
What I hear you saying, Bianca, is that there's a lot of kind of performative distraction, and you mentioned like pulling down monuments, I think, and contrasting that with the material outcomes and the need for resources, ultimately money, to hit the ground, and particularly in communities of color you named, and how resources and money are the solution to many of the crises that our communities face. Did I get some of that right?
Yeah, all of it. And that wasn't projected to you, really. But, you know, I would say, I'm going to be brutal right now. You know, every woman that we've talked to who knows, you know, Shahid's name, unfortunately, is not going to vote for him. And whether or not that's justified or not, another matter. But voters in the city are women, and 40% of the voters are LGBT, and we tend to stick to our own. And as a transgender woman, well, I would draw our own conclusion from that. But
what I hear you saying is that there's a large percentage of the voters that are women and trans folks, and that my character assassination was widely internalized by some of those folks, and that you feel like among some of the women you've talked to, there's a reticence to vote for me on account of some of the disinformation that we confronted in 2020.
Yeah, whether it's disinformation or information, I mean, I empathize with you, man. Media garbage. Media garbage. You didn't prop the frontline piece, which I thought was totally biased. That was a huge accomplishment. Did taking it to general election.
Okay, so Bianca, I want to pause you. You're cutting in and out again, so there may be a way to speak a little slower, but repeat that again, what you just said, so it comes through really clearly for listeners. Go ahead.
Oh God! All right, let's see if I can pull it back together again. I wish I was a TiVo. Let's see. Like whether or not it's information or disinformation, I can't say. But what I do know is that the media is garbage. The media is not being fair. Frontline piece was garbage. I was extremely disappointed in PBS and the Frontline for not giving you props for your accomplishment in making it to the general election. I think that's unparalleled, and that should have been mentioned, and it wasn't. And it was very disappointing, and it was. Excuse me, I have another interruption.
When you're ready, I can speak back just to make sure I'm getting it. Should I restate, Bianca, what you were saying?
No, not yet. Wait till she comes back, and I think she had a distraction.
Okay.
I apologize for that.
No worries. Should I restate what you were saying just to make sure I was getting it?
If you like.
So I heard you saying that the media is garbage. That there is the Frontline piece exploring Nancy Pelosi's career was particularly emblematic of the media being garbage and its failure to fairly depict her history, or for instance the fact that she faced another Democrat in the general election and in 2020 for the first time.
And also I've been calling them out, certain players, and we all see the Christine nonsense, and I call that candidate seeding, and I think it's wrong. And I be sure to mention those people to the Pulitzer Prize committee, as well as because I'm an actress, I'm also on the board of the Emmys. Those people should not be given awards, okay? Because they're clearly seeding things. Whenever they say there's reports of this and that, I basically assume they're just making that up.
I hear you saying that the journalists are playing a game in planting suggestions in the electorate about people to follow Nancy Pelosi, presuming that she would retire at her own choice, and that the particular reports about her daughter being her successor are especially offensive, both in, well, I'll just say it's particularly offensive. And you were noting how they were offensive in planting the seed and steering the ship more than reporting the facts. Did I get some of that right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Bianca. That's 5 minutes.
Oh, really? I have more to say. Oh,
I know. No, we'll do one more round after this. Okay. So what I want to do is Shahid now has listened, so now he's getting a chance to pick you or either of us to answer the question. Why should folks vote for me, or whatever's on your mind and heart. So in this format, Shahid, of course, please share whatever's real for you. But first, choose somebody to listen and summarize if you'd like to.
Thanks, Timothy. Bianca, if you're willing, I'd love to speak to you.
Yep.
Cheers. So yeah, going to the prompt that Timothy offered in terms of why I would invite folks to vote for me. I see a lot of folks in 2022 coming to an awareness of our social crises, whether it's money in politics, whether it's human rights abuses, the international belligerence of our military industrial complex, the climate crisis. These crises are growing inescapably obvious to a great many people, and I offer myself as a voice for the city because I've spent 20 years fighting those issues from San Francisco to Washington. I can pause there.
That was nice. That was great.
Okay, so Bianca, your reflection of that, just to help Shahid know he's been heard.
He is offering himself as a voice in the political landscape for the last 20 years. How's that?
Yeah, right on. That's fair. And as I look back on that history and the challenges that we're confronting today, the pieces of my history that I feel like were most emblematic of what I would like to do for the city going forward were fighting for marriage equality in 2004, long before Democrats were willing to stand for the rights of our neighbors, and fighting the surveillance state in the 15 years after that, and putting in place the first restrictions on it across the country. Those were sort of two examples of my advocacy that I offer as sort of examples, receipts, perhaps.
The surveillance state is bad. I mean, I couldn't agree with that more.
Okay, Bianca, Bianca, just in this setting, do your best to just summarize what Shahid's trying to put out there in terms of how you understand it. He gave some examples. How else would you just kind of summarize that to say, okay, yeah, from your perspective, this is what I heard. Go ahead, Bianca.
Well, yeah, I mean, I heard that
Good.
there's a lot of corruption within the Democratic Party. And believe me, I have lived that too.
Hold on, Bianca. Not about you. Just what is Shahid saying right now
Okay.
From his perspective?
Corruption in the Democratic Party and the surveillance state as an outcropping of that.
Yeah, the one piece maybe that's just not getting across in terms of just wanting to make sure it's heard is just the advocacy for LGBT communities starting in, an era long before Democrats were willing to stand for our neighbors.
Sticking up for LGBT communities before others would.
Yeah, thanks for that. And the other thought I'd have here, just in terms of the offering that we present the city, is just the voice of someone who's had the chance, and I say this, with tongue in cheek, but the chance to experience the bottom of the boot. When my family lost our home when I was 16, that it was the last thing I would have chosen. I would never wish it on anyone, and I learned a great deal from it. And to have had the chance to struggle for 10 years to get my undergrad degree, to have the chance to struggle through character assassination, our struggles, I think, forge us into stronger steel. And, I've had the chance to be put through, for better or worse, more than a few fires.
Is it my turn?
No, so we have about a minute left in Shahid's time. So
I need to respond to or to show how.
Yeah. So you just summarize what you hear him trying to get across there.
His struggles are painful, and he would not wish them on others, but they have made him stronger all the more for it.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Bianca. Yeah, that's perfect. I think Timothy, are we at time?
But also, Bianca, I want you to catch what those examples he actually gave. I want to make sure that those are heard too. So
his family lost his home. I lost my home during the campaign too. I mean, not that he lost his home during the campaign, but I lost my home too.
Got it. So yeah, you heard that as an example. Yeah. Okay. So Shahid, do you feel heard there? Anything else you want to make sure is understood, or?
No, I feel fully heard.
Okay,
Thank you, Bianca.
cool. Right on. And thank you, Bianca, for diving into this process. We appreciate that. Okay, so what I'd like to do, since we're focusing on your experience, both of you being able to be heard fully and equally in this particular format, I'd like you to go ahead, Bianca, and you can speak to any of us to be heard for 5 minutes on whatever's on your mind or heart, or why people should vote for you. So you pick one of us, and then you can go from there.
Can I pick all of you?
In this method, you pick one, but if like that one person is not hearing you, we'll get some help from others. So make sure you're heard. How's that sound?
All right. Well, I'll still stick with Buttar because we're the only principals in the election.
Perfect.
So, yeah, I don't want to make it about identity politics, but, I would be the first congresswoman in the world, in the United States.
I'm sorry, your voice broke up there. Can you repeat that again? You would be the first
transgender congresswoman in the United States. As we all know, that was something Pelosi robbed from the nation her first time around, running against a gay county supervisor named Harry Britt. But
I heard you noting that you'd be the first trans member of Congress in the country, and that was something our community's been denied in the past.
Yeah, not just our community, but the LGBT community worldwide, in the nation. I've said many times that we need actual enforcement of civil protections that we have. If we need what I call 911 service of injustice, a 911 number that you can call and get help, and somebody can come down, take your information, investigate it, prosecute it, and provide some sort of a remedy. We really don't have anything close to that. But more.
Can I pause there just to make sure I'm hearing you?
Go ahead.
Describing
I paused it. Yeah.
No, yeah. I heard you describing a vision for like a rapid response justice line where people can call and seek help for challenges needing resolution.
Yeah, that's pretty good. And because I believe fervently that government should be proactive in things like, why don't we have like 911 dials, connects you via Skype to an ER doctor or something like that, so you can give it, assistance to people on the street. There's a whole host. Why can't we use drones to direct traffic so that emergency vehicles can get quick access to sites quicker? They're not thinking this way. Government reacts. It's not proactive. It's reactive, and it's mostly about putting out fires instead of just pruning the forest before it becomes dangerous to begin with.
I hear you describing government responding only to crises rather than preventing them, and sort of being behind the ball in terms of implementing opportunities for technology to better accentuate not just social services, but like core things. You noted drones facilitating traffic enforcement. You had another example that's slipping. I want to make sure I grip.
Skyping directly to an ER doctor.
ER doctors. Right. Yeah, so leveraging technology in government to better address core functions that are failing. Yeah.
But,
did I get that right?
You did. One more thing I would like to direct that, like Shahid said, he's a voice in the community for about 20 years. I'm a relative newcomer. I'm a national name, but not in a political sphere. And
hold on. You that last piece. You're a national name, but go ahead. Just go from there.
But not in political spheres. I'm in the entertainment world, and before that, I was in engineering. But I don't want a career change. I want this job. Shahid wants his career, and that's nice and everything. But what he has to do to align himself with that would make him a less desirable candidate than it would I. What I mean by that is I don't give a crap about making friends in Congress or having long-term relationships. I said it in the ballot and I'm emphasizing it now. I'm either going to come there and accomplish what I set out to do, or I'm going to find the assholes who are holding us back, the Kristen Sinema's, the minutiae. And thanks to Buttar, we found about Kuilar. Let's find those people out. Let's suss them out, and let's nail them and get them out of there. This is why they've been avoiding the pro-choice vote for 50 years, because they've been afraid of this exact kind of thing. And Pelosi has shown her colors in this respect. I told the Trump White House, this is how you nail her the first time around. It happened during the budget debate. Remember that?
Hold on. This is how you what?
This is how I told Trump how to bust Pelosi the first time around, and he used it, and that's what happened. During the last budget debate, before he left office, he upped her offer, and she turned him down. I told him to do that. I told him she would show her true colors. She didn't want to have the budget passed. She didn't care about the people that needed that money. She cared about, making this man look like a jackass.
Okay.
And he does that just fine on his own.
Okay, I'm going to pause you there, Bianca, because the time's up. And I want to make sure that Shahid catches you there. So go ahead, Shahid.
Yeah, I heard you saying, Bianca, that the sort of the difference between going to Washington to make friends versus going to Washington to expose the people who are impeding the policy vision that you propose, and you sort of mentioned like the Kristen Sinema, Joe Manchin, sort of as the obstacles to be removed. There was definitely more there. I'm trying to grip.
No, I'm impressed you got that much. That was quite a rant I went on.
Oh, good.
Hey, okay, good. So you got that much, and then there may be others, but in this moment, Bianca, do you feel fully heard for what you've been able to say?
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, so now we're moving towards the end of our time. Shahid, we're going to give you another chance to speak. You could speak to Bianca again or any of us for 5 minutes on the topic of why people should vote for you, and or anything else that's on your mind and heart in this moment. So
Right
go
on.
ahead and choose a listener if you like, and we'll go from there.
I'll speak to Bianca if that's okay with you.
Yeah.
And I'll sort of, reiterate where we started, is this gratitude for the forum. I'm really grateful that you're here, and to the folks who brought us together to have an exchange that centers our respective perspectives rather than potential differences between them.
And I see Bianca in the chat saying agreed. So Bianca, how would you reflect that back, what Shahid just said from his perspective? How would you say that back?
He appreciates the forum. I appreciate the forum too. This is a great start. I'd love to have a lot more of these.
Another piece I'd throw out there, this is a little bit less on the whole race, but just reflecting on the format and the discourse. Timothy, maybe half an hour ago, had reflected on what it might look like for someone in office to use a forum like this. And I just figured I'd throw this in the mix. There's a scholar, James Fishkin, who taught at different points at the University of Texas. I think he was at Stanford at some point, and maybe now. But he pioneered this model called Deliberative Democracy, which is it's not unlike this forum. If you imagine, for instance, to the extent the Empathy Circle aims to embody this sort of nonviolent communication and active listening, their deliberative democracy aims sort of similarly to get past the top line talking points that people offer. And so it's sort of like, to the extent maybe one contrast we might offer to what we're doing now is like polling. Polling is sort of a really reductive, simple way that people try to detect what the public thinks. This is a more kind of like engaged way, to help see what people think. Deliberative democracy are like weekend-long sessions, kind of like mini conventions, but almost like mini legislatures where the participants are drawn from across civil society. They have almost like town halls where issue-focused explorations with voices from different sides of debates. So they basically get to hear the pros and cons of different contested propositions. And then they often will have votes at the end. And one of the things that the scholars, including Fishkin, have documented is that people at least emerge from those processes with a great deal more understanding of nuance. And it seems at least to enable better decision making in those kinds of bodies. Now, I don't think anything like this has been tried in a bigger scale, but there are at least efforts, I think, to try to emulate better listening in politics, and we've seen some of them bear some fruit.
Okay, that was a lot, Bianca. How would you distill some of that to let
was,
Shahid?
I would say more comprehensive discourse and scope to empower the voter. How's that?
Right on. Elegantly said. Well said. Thank you. I feel fully heard.
Okay, but Shahid, you've got another minute and a half, a little over that. So I'd love for you to continue, answer the question or anything else you'd like to express right now to Bianca.
I see the future at risk of being run off a climate cliff. I see capitalists with their hands around the throat of an entire planet and its capacity to support life. I see not just in Washington, but particularly our city's voice in Washington, support for Wall Street and the Pentagon before human rights, before climate justice, before our neighbors and their needs. And ultimately, that's why I'm here, and would hope to do everything I can to be helpful on our city's behalf.
Yeah, that cuts right to my humors. Look, I can't regurgitate what you said back, but I feel the same way. Okay, I feel a step further. I feel like we're on the precipice of civil war if things don't change.
Okay, Bianca, I'm going to pause you there.
Sorry, I know I go off.
No, Bianca, we love to hear exactly how you feel. And in this moment, it's just, I know it's hard, but catching Shahid for what he's saying and pointing to from his perspective. And then
he's saying this shit doesn't work. Right?
Fairly said. I'll take
this
that.
This doesn't work. This doesn't work. We have to change things. This kind of trickle down economic, everybody, one man on every man for himself is bullshit. Mm-hmm. We have to work collectively. We have to solve problems that are not going to be resolved with traditional paradigms. How's that?
I think you fairly captured what I wanted to say there. I am just facing a little time pressure now because I have volunteers I have to meet.
We are about to finish right now. So what that means is a profound thank you, not just from me and Mike Zonta, who organized this. Mike's right there hanging in with us. But for our listeners every time, now or after the election, the profound gratitude to each of you, Shahid Buttar and Bianca Krieg. We're here in San Francisco, Congressional District 11, challenging Nancy Pelosi for powerful representation from San Francisco across this country and world. Really, thank you for showing up for a dialogue and a process like this, and not just showing up, but being honest and listening in the same, event. Thank you. So I'm saying thank you. Now, once again, this has been recorded. I host Talk It Out Radio on KPFA, listener-supported KPFA, and that's on Sunday nights from 7 to 8. And I'm going to do my best to edit some of what we've done here so we can share it with the world. This will also be posted through Edwin Rutsch's, Culture of Empathy website to demonstrate what's possible here. So right at the end here, I heard a real reverence for what this process can be, but also for, I won't say, I can't swear because this goes on the radio, but this stuff, a lot of it is not working, and you each are stepping up. And so I honor you for not just your service, but your courage and your love. You're stepping into a wild time right now as leaders. So I honor both of you, Bianca and Shahid. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
It's been a blast. Let's do it again.
Hey, let's do it again. Let's do it again. I'm celebrating. I am. Come on. In the middle of all this, we have some relationality. And this is between two competing candidates, right? Challenging Nancy Pelosi's seat. What was that, Bianca?
Progressive candidates.
Thank you. Two progressive and competing candidates, though. And so we just did this. So I'm very grateful. And Mike, I want to hear if you have any final thoughts before we finish up. You pulled this together, so go ahead. You're muted there, Mike. Just
I'm really thankful, really grateful that Shahid showed up, really grateful that Bianca showed up, and that you showed up, Timothy. I'm really grateful for what you did. So Bianca says, let's do it again. I don't know if I'm up to organizing this again. It's a hell of a job.
Yeah, you know, Mike, I've been talking to who's that guy who runs Manny's on Sunday?
Oh yeah, yeah.
He's up for doing this kind of stuff. So if you want to hook up with him, he'll probably take over.
okay,
Well,
great.
I'll look into that.
We want to say goodbye to Shahid. I know you have another meeting, I think. So
Thank you again.
Okay, thank you, Shahid.
It's an honor. Really fabulous. Take it easy. Bye-bye.
Peace, everyone.
And Bianca, thanks for hooking Mike up with some support there. Anything else you want to say?
No, I think we need to have more of these. I think it speaks volumes about Pelosi that she couldn't even, show the courtesy of a response to the invitation. I can't stress this enough. The definition of idiocy is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. If you keep voting for Pelosi and expecting a different result, then you're a world-class idiot. Okay, I'm not your cup of tea, vote for Buttar, vote for someone, but don't keep voting for Pelosi and expecting things to change. My God, it's been 37 years. Nobody can name anything that she's accomplished in 37 years. Nobody can name anything she's accomplished.
Yeah, I appreciate your passionate vision for progress, evolution, change, and difference to address the serious crises we're in now. Did I catch that?
Nothing changes until something changes.
Nothing changes until something changes. And in this case, vote for anybody else but Pelosi. I hear you saying. That's what I hear you saying.
Spin the wheel.
Yes. All right. Thank you, Bianca. Really so fun to meet you this way. I wish I could have seen you on camera, but that's okay. Maybe I'll see you around the city.
Watch me on Glee, or if you look around, there's tons of pictures of me on my IMDb.
Cool. Okay, thanks. And Mike, anything else before we finish up?
No, just thanks again. And maybe we will do this for the general election. I'm not sure how that would work, but we'll try to do it for the general election, I think.
Yeah, amazing. All right, good. Okay, I wish you both well. We'll finish things up. Take it easy, okay?
All right, bye, kids.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Thanks, Mike. Take good care. Bye for now. We'll be in touch, Mike. We can debrief.
Okay.